1, and we're live, baby. What's going on, guys? It's Logan. It's CJ. Welcome back to SwampCast, baby. Conference championship weekend is finally wrapped up. The final college football playoff rankings are here. The matchups are set up. We're going to dive into all that. The Gators have finally hired an offensive coordinator. I didn't even know an offensive coordinator existed, honestly, CJ, for the past 4 years. I guess they're still around. We hired one of those. We got a defensive coordinator that we took from Kentucky, Mr. Brad White. So we'll get into all that, of course, talk about the Army-Navy game, and then, like I said, talk about the conference championship games from this past weekend, which EJ destroyed me in when it came to the predictions, and I mean, we both sucked, but like I was really bad. And the only ones that I got right were the only one that I got right was the one that EJ got right. It was a wild weekend, man. Fun stuff to talk about there. Curt Cignetti might be one of the greatest. I think he's already one of the greatest college football coaches we've ever seen, and we'll get into all that in a little bit too, in my opinion. But EJ, how you doing on this fine Sunday, man?
Yo, it's coming up to Christmas. One of our favorite time of the year. You know, we got the Christmas threads out here. New era.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, we're doing good. We're doing good. We're hopefully we'll see Coach Sumrall come into the swamp pretty soon. He's going to be leading his team to the playoffs. Just want to note, our coach will have playoff coaching experience, unlike the LSU coach. So can we put that in the bank? Can we put that in the piper and smoke it? Okay, perfect. That's what we got. We got a coach with playoff experience coming to the swamp.
Yes, sir. I'm getting over a cold, by the way, so sorry my voice might not be the greatest today, guys. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, John Sumrall now going to Oxford, Mississippi to play Ole Miss. It's going to get insane. We have a whole bracket set up for you guys. I'll put it on the screen. A new layout, by the way, EJ. It's another reason why I was like 10 minutes late. It's going to be a nice viewing for everyone. You guys will see what I'm talking about here in a second. But yeah, college football playoff, EJ. Let's just dive into it. Rankings just came out about an hour ago. I'm going to put this on screen for everyone here. You guys should see it. EJ, I know you can't see it, but it's this little bracket with all the teams on it. Do you want me to send it to you, kind of to show you what I'm seeing? Should have done that before.
I got it pulled up here
Okay.
on the screen. So yeah, this is good.
Beautiful. All right, so let's start. Obviously, you know, we made our preseason predictions with the same exact bracket layout early on. Like I said before the season started, we'll get into those, kind of how they compare. I think it's pretty funny to just look back on those. But man, let's take a look at this. I think the biggest thing that we could take out of this is the fact that Miami snuck its way in, and Notre Dame is left out.
Yep.
I know, EJ, we both have opinions on that. We could definitely get into that in a minute, but let's just look at some of these matchups real quick. I mean, James Madison's going to be traveling to Eugene, Oregon, which is unbelievable, to play the Oregon Ducks, man, round 1. Bama's traveling to Oklahoma, going to Norman to face the Sooners, which is going to be wild. I mean, that's one of the games Bama lost, right? I think they went into Bryant-Denny, won that game. They only had like 112 yards of total offense, I believe Oklahoma did, or something ridiculous like that, and they still won the game because of just the dumb turnovers by this Alabama offense and by this Alabama team. So crazy. Going to be a really fun matchup there now in Norman. Tulane, the Fighting John Summeralls, baby, are going to be traveling to Oxford, Mississippi to play a coachless, Lane Kiffinless Ole Miss Rebel team, EJ. I think that can get pretty interesting. So just something to kind of keep an eye out for there. And Miami is traveling to Aggie Land, man, going to Texas A&M. That's probably the game that I'm most excited for personally. I feel like that game is going to be just unbelievable. It's going to be a fun one. So just by looking at this bracket, I think if you're an Oregon fan, you're so excited. You are ecstatic. You're playing James Madison. Easy win, in my opinion. Going to be like that SMU and Penn State game of last season, in my opinion, EJ. And now you're going to be playing, Texas Tech's a really good team, and we'll get into that. But I think Oregon, and they got, I think, that's at a neutral site, right? Yeah, that's neutral site.
Yeah.
that they got to go to play Texas Tech. So I mean, they're a really good team, but I think if you're Oregon, you like that, and then you got to eventually play Indiana, which looks unbelievable right now. But yeah, EJ, what's like your initial reaction to this? I think that seeing two G5 teams in here is unbelievable after what Duke did last night to Virginia, which was just unbelievable. An 8-5 Duke team, 7-5 Duke team won the ACC championship. Unbelievable. And it's crazy that Miami made its way in, EJ. Let's hear your thoughts on this bracket here.
Yeah, here's the deal, guys. I'm not too thrilled with this uh playoff bracket. I think it's I think it's a little bit of a travesty. Um, so when you think about what this playoff bracket represents, who the hell is coming up with these rules? Like it's a different thing every year. And I don't understand why these people can't just adopt March Madness. March Madness, the way they select teams is exactly what we need to be doing in football. If you're a conference champion of the Power Four, you get automatically in. So that should be four teams that should be automatically in. Then, if you're a G5 team and you're ranked in the rankings, you get in as well. You get that fifth bid, right? Maybe that 12 seed, right? And this year it would have been Tulane that would have got it. And then, so that's what's that? That's five. Then you go with the next highest ranked seven teams. That would have been, that's like how March Madness does it. With this ranking, you got, now listen, we love Coach Sumrall. We love, the James Madison coach is going to be coach at UCLA. Um, Sumrall obviously is coming to Florida. They don't deserve to be in the playoffs, guys. I mean, let's just be real here. At the end of the day, if you're telling me that Tulane and James Madison are better than Notre Dame, Texas, and even Vanderbilt, you're on something. And so this committee, the selection committee, who are these people? There's a bunch of old guys sitting in a room somewhere, are selecting these teams. Then the other issue that I had, now Alabama. Let's talk about them for a second because they got to go to Norman and play. We already seen this game. Some of these games are rematches. We already saw Oklahoma beat Alabama. So why they have to prove that they're better than Alabama again is ridiculous to me. Then you got Ole Miss playing Tulane, which Ole Miss already clobbered them early in the season. So now they got to play them again. I mean, it's ridiculous. It should be Notre Dame playing against Oklahoma. Or yeah, it should be Notre Dame in there. And then I also think who else did they leave out? Because if you look at the actual rankings, it can get a little bit confusing because Notre Dame and BYU are actually 11th and 12th in the rankings. But because the highest ranked conference champions are Tulane and James Madison, they're ranked, they kicked them both out to get the 11 and 12 seed. Um, I just, what I'm mainly upset about is the fact that Alabama got in, Notre Dame uh, did not get in, even though I do think Notre Dame is better than like six or seven of the teams that are in. Like, I honestly think if you put Notre Dame against either of these teams, James Madison, uh, Tulane, hell, even Ole Miss or Oklahoma or Alabama or Miami, I think Notre Dame is winning those games. Now, Miami did beat Notre Dame early in this year, which I don't really, um, which I know went into the factor. But the way Notre Dame's playing right now, I would definitely put them in. Vanderbilt and Texas are also on the outside looking in. I'd honestly go Vanderbilt over Texas, even though Texas beat them. So that's my original thoughts. on the playoff bracket. Hopefully, they fix some things going into the future. But I will say this: outside of the top four, I don't think the national champion is going to come from outside the top four. Which again goes to why do we even have 12 teams? Because now next year they're talking about going to 16. So does that mean the top four don't get a bye? So who knows?
My question to you, EJ, is if you had to pick one of the teams outside of the top four to win the national championship, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. So if Notre Dame was in, I would 1000%
Really?
pick them. Yes, yes. The way that I've seen Notre Dame play, it is very similar to Indiana style, except it's a little bit, except they've got, well, according to the rankings, more talented players. Yeah, but it would definitely be Notre Dame. But because they're not in, I think it's a draw between A&M and Ole Miss right now. I think the issue with A&M is they got to play Miami in the opening game, which is going to be really tough. And I think Ole Miss will beat Tulane, and they got to play Georgia to start. But I really like A&M. I'd go with A&M. Um, I just think they're a well-balanced team. That's going to be a tough, tough, tough team to play if you're Ohio State. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with the Notre Dame thing, just mainly because I think Notre Dame they've had a pretty easy schedule. Now, I think I agree they've you can't you can't hurt a team for having a relative. I mean, they had obviously the two losses at the beginning of the year to two really good teams, right? And tough matchups. They haven't lost a game since the first 2 weeks. I understand that, but I mean, you look at if we're talking. If I'll get to your question in a second. If we're looking at Miami versus Notre Dame, you think Notre Dame should have gotten in over Miami?
So here's my thing. They're coming up with they're making shit up to justify putting these teams in. A week ago, Notre Dame was ranked ahead of Miami. Now they came out with this new ranking. They're like, well, head to head matters, so Miami wins. Here's the deal. If they play tomorrow, I'm 1000% putting the house on Notre Dame to beat Miami. I think Notre Dame is better than Miami right now. That game was in the beginning of the season, okay? And Miami didn't even play in their conference championship game. Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference. How the hell did you not beat out Duke for the conference championship? I looked up the ridiculous tiebreaker in the ACC championship. So for the ACC, here's the tiebreaker. It was obviously your overall conference record, which were like five teams that were 6-2. So then the next tiebreaker is what is your um, winning percentage? Or no, what are your opponents' winning percentage in the ACC? Duke's ACC opponents had a combined win percentage of 50%. Miami's ACC opponents that they played had a combined winning percentage of 44%. So Duke was better than Miami. And so Duke's ACC opponents, the teams that they played, the eight teams that they played, had the highest winning percentage overall. And so that was the tiebreaker. To me, I think that's really stupid because the schedules aren't the same. There's 50 teams in this conference.
Right.
What they should have did was in basketball, again, basketball is so much better than football when it comes to figuring this crap out. When it comes to basketball, it goes, okay, head to head. All right, there's a three-way tie. All right. What is your record versus the next best team in the ACC? So then it's okay, there's a four-way tie for second. What's your record against the sixth place team? What's your record versus seventh place team? And then that would have determined, and then I think Miami would have gotten in if you would have did it that way. But because they didn't do it that way, the ACC's tiebreaker system is a complete joke. They put Duke in there. So, that's what I thought.
Yeah, no, I it I mean, we shouldn't even be in this place in the first place, in this position in the first place. I mean, the playoff thing's a joke, right? We didn't like 4 team because there was a couple teams that were 6th, 7th around, place around there, and they were like, we got to get them in. So then we expand all the way to a 12 team. And we did this G5 thing because people were complaining that UCF was left out that one year, whatever, that,
Right.
these teams should get in. And so, and like you had like SMU and all that, like, okay, we'll bring these teams in. And so now you have 23rd ranked James Madison, whatever they are, and a Tulane team that, yeah, we love John Summerall, but they don't deserve to be in this play. It feels like you said so gimmicky in a way, where it's just like, hey, because the fans are mad about G5 teams not getting in, we have to include one. It seems so weird to me. When I think that the exact playoff that we need to do is an 8-team. I will stand right beside an 8-team playoff. I think an 8-team playoff is perfect. I think
agree.
once you start getting outside of the 8th seed, these other teams, yeah, they might have a big first, round playoff win, right? But like maybe a second. But they're not going to get further than that. And so it's crazy to me that we're now at a 12 team and that we think, oh, well, now Notre Dame's getting left out. So now we got to go to a 16-team playoff. And it's like, that you're going to still keep coming to the same issue, right? Which is the fact that these teams there's always going to be an outlier where you're like, oh, well, that team should get it. It's not a never ending story, right? And it's not going to ever stop. And so that's why this seems so stupid, because we're wrongly identifying the problem, and so and in turn we're supplying negative solutions that aren't even, it just doesn't make any sense. So we're not even identifying the right correct issue, and because of that, all these solutions aren't going anywhere, and it's not actually benefiting anyone or anything. And so that's the position we're in now, EJ. I don't really like it either. It's tough to put in Notre Dame above Miami when they had a head-to-head matchup. You know what I mean? Like, and I agree. I think the committee needs to start being more consistent, because, yeah, Notre Dame was ranked above Miami in all these weeks, and last second Miami jumps them. That does feel a little bit weird. I have a question for you. BYU doesn't make the cut, and I understand they got destroyed in that Big 12 matchup. Really good look by Texas Tech. 2 times in a row they've gotten destroyed by Texas Tech now. But my question to you, EJ, is should teams be penalized for playing in these conference championship games and losing? I mean, they were number 11, now they drop down to number 12 and get kicked out. What's your take on that, EJ? Because And that's another issue. That's another reason why I think Notre Dame shouldn't. I think Notre Dame shouldn't be in the playoff also because they're not in the conference. I'm sorry, I don't understand that. I think that it's such a cop out. It should not be legal in Division I or the FBS to not be in a conference. It's such a easy cop out, and so that's why I don't really care, because you get in situations like this where if they played in a conference championship like the ACC or whatever, they're going to make in. They're going to make it in. And they said that they probably will join the ACC, right? Or I think that's what they did in 2020, right? Wasn't there 2020? Yeah. I think they joined the ACC. I think they're in the ACC in a couple of other sports, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, why? That's why I don't feel bad for Notre Dame. I would feel horrible for Notre Dame if they were in a conference and you had, it just didn't map out for them. But I think we're in this position because they're not in a conference and they think that they can just slither their way up. And now they think that it bit them in the ass. They want to complain, but that's your fault for not being in a conference. And so that's my take on it as well. But it does suck. It does suck for them. I think that they were a team that was playing pretty well in that back end. I think they are a better team than James Madison. I think they are a better team than Tulane. I think without Lane Kiffin, they're a better team than Ole Miss. I think this Notre Dame team is nasty. I think they're a better team than Oklahoma. It's mind-boggling to me, EJ, that Oklahoma's in the playoff. They are not a playoff team at all. They are trash. They are horrible. John Mateer is horrendous. Ever since that thumb injury, he just is not the same. And it's crazy that they should be like 8-4, honestly. And the fact they're in the playoff is ridiculous. So Bama got destroyed by Georgia. That score is not relative to what actually happened. So yeah, I mean that's my take on it, DJ. I feel bad for Notre Dame, yeah, but you need to be in a conference, and I think that
Yeah.
we could sit here and critique the 12-team playoff. There's a lot of issues with it, um, but I don't think that there's a right solution because we expanded it to try to identifying the wrong problem. I think that we need to go to an 8-team. I think the 8-team is perfect, but I stand beside that. Um, if I could pick one team, EJ, out of the top four that I think could go all the way, I think it's Texas A&M or Oregon. I think, which I know kind
Yeah.
of seems obvious, but Texas A&M, I think when Marcel Reed's playing very, very well, I think Texas A&M is one of the best teams in the country. But then you also look at their schedule, EJ. They're scheduled. They didn't play a single SEC school in the top half of the SEC, and then they play one and get pretty manhandled really by Texas in that game. And Texas just looked like one of the best teams in the country. And so when
Yeah.
Marcel Reed's playing well, they're a really good team. When he's not, they're not. And I don't think you could fully rely on that. So if I had to pick, I'd probably say Oregon. But yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on a rant there. I just it sucks because we're gonna keep expanding, trying to fix this problem when that's not even the right problem. It's annoying. So anyway,
Yeah, no, back to your question though about um wait, I think you asked what was your question? Conference championship game, should that matter?
yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think the conference championship games have always sort of mattered when it came to these final rankings. And to say that, oh, it doesn't matter now is kind of a cop out because our first national championship, so you're too young to remember this, pre-BCS. But can you imagine? Because when I started getting college football, this is how national champions were decided. There was no definitive national championship game back in the early 90s, mid 90s. It was the national champion was determined based on who was ranked number one at the end of the year in the Associated Press. So Florida was ranked number one in our first, 1996. Then we got beat by FSU, and then we dropped to like number four. Then we needed chaos in the conference championship games. It was basically going to be like this year where Indiana got an upset, Duke got an upset. Uh, who else got an upset in the conference championship? We
I mean, I
uh,
don't know.
we got all these upsets. We needed like the Big 12 team to lose. We needed the Big 10 and when all those teams lost in front of us, we were able to jump back up to being ranked number two. And then they put us in the Sugar Bowl to play FSU, which everyone then dubbed as the quote unquote national championship game because whoever was going to win that game was going to be ranked number one at the end of the year and be declared the national champion. So, and then in like 1997, the very next year, it was a tie because you had Michigan and Nebraska were both undefeated. They didn't play each other in the bowl game. And then one was one in AP, the other one was one in the coaches. And so they split. The next year, when we had the BCS, it's definitively number one versus number two. So I think the conference championship games still should matter. It's a data point. I understand the argument that, well, if you get the conference championship, you shouldn't be penalized for playing the conference championship game. And that was Alabama's argument. Well, we already beat Georgia to start the year. And if we would have just forfeited the SEC championship game, we would have been in automatically and no one would have said anything. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. You made the SEC championship game. You had an opportunity that no one else had, and you went and laid an egg. And you looked like trash. Alabama looked worse than Florida did. To be honest, when we played against Georgia, they looked worse. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't get into scoring territory. Ty Simpson was throwing interceptions. Every time they try to run the ball, they get hit sticked behind the line of scrimmage. Georgia was blitzing. Simpson didn't know what a blitz was. They threw it to Williams a couple times, but then uh, he can't really make acrobatic catches. He's more of a not acrobat. He can make acrobatic catches, but one on one when a defender is right in your face, he's not like a Jeremiah Smith type of receiver. So, you know, I don't think Alabama should have been in, but because they're going to start crying about, well, if we didn't go to the SEC championship game, and then now I will say this, and this is why I think Alabama is in, and it goes back to quality wins. In basketball, they have a great system where they look at how many, they call them quadrant one wins, meaning wins against the better competition, the higher ranked teams in the nation. How many do you have? In football, it doesn't matter. All they look at is your number of losses. They just say, well, how many teams did you lose to? Like Ole Miss. Ole Miss is like clearly in over all these other teams. But when you look at Ole Miss's uh, schedule, like who did Ole Miss beat this year? Um, let's take a look. Let's take a look. Their non-conference schedule was absolutely trash, by the way. They did play Tulane, but come on, that's a group of 5 team. We played USF, who was basically on the same level. We got beat. But we also played Florida State and Miami. They played Georgia State. They played Washington State, which is one of the worst teams out there. They played Citadel, and I think that's it. They didn't. They did play Oklahoma. They beat Oklahoma. That was their best win of the season. They had one game.
Oklahoma's not great either.
Well, but then you look at Oklahoma's schedule. To Oklahoma's credit, okay, they did beat Alabama. They have a win against Tennessee, okay, and they have a pretty decent win against Michigan early in the year. And Michigan, I think they're still ranked. They're like number 15. So, I mean, if you're going off of quality wins, like the number of wins against these ranked teams in the top 25, they never compare that. And they just say, well, you only lost one game, so you should go in. So I don't know. I would look at wins over losses, because when you look at losses, basically what you're saying is everyone's schedule is the same. And that's not the case. Like everyone has a definitively more there's high variability. Like look at our schedule. Our schedule was absolutely ridiculous compared to some of these teams. And we technically have a win over a top 15 team, which is more than what some of these other teams have. So that made it, like Tulane and James Madison. I mean, I get they're ranked and they won a G5 conference, but in order to get into the playoff, which is the best teams in the country, the best teams, you're telling me that they're better than Notre Dame and Texas and Vanderbilt? They're definitely not better than Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt just went to Knoxville and just made Tennessee look like a Pop Warner JV squad. And they got a Heisman candidate on their team. But yet we're going to put James Madison in there like they're one of the 12 best teams in the country. It's ridiculous. Not taking nothing away from James Madison, but I would much rather see Notre Dame at Oregon or Vanderbilt at Oregon or Texas at Oregon than, or hell, BYU than James Madison. Now watch James Madison go out there and get an upset.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It could happen.
It could happen. It could happen. No, you that's 100% right. And I feel like another reason on why they don't why they want these G5 teams in, or at least one G5 team in, is because they don't want it just full SEC and Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
And they're worried about that. But once again, you mentioned it, EJ. What's the majority of the top 20 teams? What conferences are they from? You know, like you have to look at it from that point of view. So I'm in total agreement. And why should a G5 team that has, you know, the schedule, you know, strength of schedule of a, you know, I don't know, with like an FCS school. Why should they get in, like you said, over an SEC school that is 10-2 and that's had a really tough schedule, or even a 9-3 SEC or Big Ten school? You know what I mean? Like it is very weird.
Yeah.
And it's all politics, and it does suck to see. So yeah, I mean, hey, I will say this, let's go, Rob. I agree. UC or UF should be in the playoff. I mean, yeah. So I mean, I will say this, CJ. There's gonna be a lot of fun games on here. Like Oregon's probably gonna win against James Madison. So I think Oregon and Texas Tech will be really, really exciting. Bama, Oklahoma, one of those teams are gonna go play Indiana, which would be insane. Tulane and Ole Miss. Ole Miss probably is gonna win that one. They go play Georgia or Tulane. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Miami, Texas A&M gonna go play Ohio State. I think that's a really, really good quarterfinal game. Whoever wins that one. So yeah, it'll be interesting. So next week, EJ, what we'll do is we'll come on and we'll actually do a prediction episode. We go in and we give our predictions and what we think that this official bracket's going to be, because then I believe it's the week after that is the first playoff game. So I don't know. We'll get into it. You guys will see us chat about this, man, and give our official predictions. But EJ, anything else that you want to say on this, man? I mean, it's interesting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say seldomly, just statistically speaking, seldomly is the best team in the country ranked outside of the top 4 in an objective ranking. It's the same in college basketball. In college basketball, you have 3 times more teams playing college basketball, like 350 teams. And I believe 24 of the last 30, some crazy number like that, 24 of the last 30 national champions in a 68 team field have been a number 1 seed, meaning they were one of the top 4 teams. So it's and in college football, it very seldomly is the champion not one of the 4 best teams. Now, last year, I think Ohio State was like ranked 6th or something like that, or 5th or something crazy.
Yeah.
I think they were number 5. But that was only because of the stupid way they did the rankings, where they had Boise State as a top 4 team because they were the champions of, I don't even know what the hell conference, Mountain West or whatever.
Yeah.
So if it was a definitive actual ranking, Ohio State would have been in the top 4. And then you would have had, there's really no need to waste everyone's time watching Oregon play James Madison. Like, why the hell are we watching that game? That is not, to me, that's not a legit playoff game. That's just an invitational because you're a group of 5 team. And the fact that the ACC champion, Duke, who they determined was the champion, is not in, but Miami is in, I also think is a travesty. Now, do I think Miami is better than Duke? Yeah, I do. But in college basketball, it's hey, you got your conference tournament at the end of the year, put up or shut up, win that thing, get in. And if you don't, then oh well, you're rolling the dice. And for Miami to get in over Duke, who's the ACC champion, I don't understand how the Power 4 teams don't have automatic bids. They should have automatic bids. I'd rather see Duke than James Madison. I mean, yeah, Duke lost 3 non-conference games, but guess what? You were in you played your schedule and you won the ACC championship. But now they're going to put Miami in. So there was no point in even having the ACC championship game.
Right.
There was like freaking no point in having it if you're just going to put Miami in. So it was absolutely, it's freaking ridiculous. Now the ACC is trash, but at the end of the day, it's a Power 4 conference, and the champion of your Power 4 conference should be automatically in. And then one group of 5 team, if they're ranked, and then you take the next best 7. So I think that's how they should change it up next year, to make it clear, to make the conference championship game mean something. That, hey, if we win this, we're in. And that's what I think about Alabama. They're like, well, you shouldn't be penalized for being in. No, if you play in it and win, you are automatically in. If you lose, you're rolling the dice. That's how it goes. That's how it's always been. So that's what that's my last thought on that. I just think it's kind of silly how they have it. And I think they should just go back to the BCS rankings where it's just like get all these old, 80-year-old, 70-year-old guys sitting around, you know, drinking their Glenlivet scotch, talking about, oh, we were up till 2 o'clock in the morning last night trying to figure out how to rank three teams. Me and Logan can do it in 5 minutes. It's called knowing who's the better team. It's called making sense when you list 1 through 12. It's not that hard. But they're going by the rules, which is, if you're a conference champion and you're ranked, then you should go. Then, I guess they, did what they had to do, but I still think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, in the committee's defense, they never would have thought that two G5 teams would be ranked higher than the ACC champion. Yeah, but still, it's just it shows the faults in the system, and that's kind of where we're at with that. I think either way, it's not sustainable. They're gonna make a change next year, EJ. It's just gonna be what are they
Yeah.
gonna do? And like I said, I think an 8-team playoff is perfect because you have the top
I
four
think it's
teams
perfect.
and you have the four teams. Even a six team, I think would work better
I think
than.
a 6 team.
I
Yeah.
mean, this is ridiculous, man. Once you go to a 16 team, you're looking at 3 lost teams, man. You're losing the regular season. You're losing the importance of these regular season games. And even this year, EJ, I felt that a little bit. Like when when Bama dropped Florida State, I'm like, they can still lose another game and be fine. You know, um,
Yep.
and so I feel like we're losing what makes college football special. NFL, you can lose 6, 7, you can lose 7 games and still in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? If you get lucky with that wild card. And so that's what I just don't. And that's great for the NFL. That's really cool. But I don't like. I think that's what makes college football unique is that the regular season just literally just means more. Um
Yeah,
and
I don't know why we can't just go to the 8-team playoff. Maybe it's money and then
that's
it's
what it
like,
is. These games bring them so much revenue. It's
yeah,
not even
yeah.
funny.
So, maybe that's what it is,
Yeah. And yeah, I don't like that. And then that's the thing too, right? It's really hard to implement such a big playoff like this with conference championship games, because in the NFL you have the conference championship games, but those games decide who gets into the Super Bowl, and there's like an actual tournament
Right.
that goes into it.
Right.
So people have talked about it, DJ. I know Josh Pate talked about it a lot in the offseason, in like summertime. He pointed stuff out like this that could happen with this new 12 team, and with the I guess the tweaks that they made to it. And he talked about how the SEC and Big Ten, kind of proposed SEC style tournaments where you would take the top 6 teams in the SEC, let them play it out. Take the top 6 in the Big Ten, let them play it out, and kind of have that be, the thing there. And then kind of have the SEC champion, the Big Ten champion, the ACC champion, and the Big 12, whatever it is, kind of fight for that national championship. I also think that makes teams want to join these conferences, right? If you're a team, then you're gonna have the mega conferences, But I mean, with how the college football is going, that's where we're gonna end up. So why don't we just pull the trigger now, make 4 huge conferences, and have a 4-team playoff? Right? Let the
Right.
SEC and the Big Ten be the main 2 conferences, the super conferences, because they're way more superior than these other conferences, and have the SEC play the ACC, or have the Big Ten play the Big 12, and then let those final 2 teams play in the national championship. That's what you're gonna have to do. But will they? I don't know. I mean, do you think that's where? I think that's where we're going, EJ. What's your thought on that?
Yeah. I completely. Well, let's see what Rob says here because he's bringing up a good point. He disagrees. That's why there were so many cupcake games in the past. Back then, Bama lost to FSU game 1, and the season was over. No need to watch the rest of the season. Um, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'll say this and I'll say it again. the best team in the country, the team that should be ranked, should be the national champion, have a chance to win the national championship, is seldomly outside of the top four. So what's the top four right now? Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech. Outside of those top four, it's really, I mean, yeah, you can split some hairs, but that's why I like the 8 team idea. You Oklahoma's number 8, even though you say, they're trash. Texas A&M 7, Ole Miss 6. So you'd have Indiana, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Texas A&M. Oh, now that would see. Now this is a playoff. This is a playoff. Indiana, Oklahoma, Ohio State, A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas Tech, Oregon. That is a playoff, people. That's a playoff. Not this crappy ass Oregon's got to play James Madison. Who the hell cares about that game? So I mean, here's the thing. When you're talking about these rankings and who should be in and who should be out, there's got to be a definitive process. They change the process every year. There has to be, and that's why, they did the show and they were like, well, what's the process? There should be a definitive uh 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 way that everyone goes about it, that's empirical, that's written down, that's policy, and not left up to interpretation. This is why in March Madness you have people like Joe Lunardi on ESPN, um, able to predict, for 10 years in a row. The guy predicts like 66 of the 68 teams correctly because the criteria remains consistent year to year on how they pick teams to make the automatic bids, or not the automatic, but the at-large bids. It's a consistent criteria. How many do you have a better resume from your quality win standpoint? And then they also put in some analytics in there. You know, how good are you? How good have you been what's your record in your last 10 games? If you're applying that metric to Notre Dame, guess what their record is? 10-0. Okay? So, and then you look at Alabama. Alabama is not a playoff team. They got absolutely destroyed. Kirby Smart outcoached Kalen. He made Kalen DeBoer look like a second-class coach in that game. There was no answer offensively against what Georgia was doing. No answer whatsoever. They're not a playoff team right now, even though, yeah, well, we have wins against. We beat Georgia early in the year. We won all these games, against Tennessee. Yeah, but if you're that much worse than the number 3 ranked team right now, you don't deserve to go to the playoff. And people will, why the hell did Texas A&M go? That's another reason. Texas A&M, they didn't play anyone until the last minute, and then they got curb stomped by a team that we beat somehow. Well, we were healthy. We had Dallas Wilson. But other than that, I do think there should be some changes. There will be some changes next year, but it just needs to be a little bit more predictable for all of us.
Yeah, I agree. It's an absolute shit show, and I don't fully agree, Rob. I think that you could lose that FSU game, and if you went out, you're fine. I just think it up the stakes a little bit. I like high stakes, and I think that makes upsets even better, right? I think that makes upsets really exciting. But yeah, look,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with this. I don't know. I mean, it's not great, and I mean, do you like that idea, EJ, of the tournament with the SEC and Big Ten? I mean, there's a lot of changes you have to make that happen, but
Here's the thing.
Because they're gonna make a lot of revenue. There's a lot of games, right? And then the sport becomes a post regular season, kind of sport. But
Well, it just depends on how many games we're talking about. I think if you were to have like an SEC playoff, I think you could do you know, what you could do, you could say, okay, the top four teams in the Power Four are going to play each other in a tournament style. But then, because these conferences are so big, there's inequity in determining who the top four teams are. Look at the ACC. You had one team in Virginia who was 7-1. Somehow they were seven. How the hell were they 7-1? And then you had five teams that were 6-2. And so then it's like, okay, well, how do you even determine the top four? From that, they do the crappy behind. Oh well, Duke's opponents had a better winning percentage, so you're still going to have those issues. But I do think if you say, let's have a four-team playoff in the Power Four, but then you're leaving out the group of five. So then it's like, well, how do you throw the group of five in there? And then you have the conference champions all play each other. I think what you could do is you could say, all right, this is how we're going to do it, guys. We're going to have the Power Four conference teams play in a four-team playoff, and then those four winners are automatically in. Then you can say the group of five champion, whoever the highest ranked group of five champion is, gets that number four seed, and then whoever the number one ranked team is gets a bye. And so you say, okay, so it's basically a 5-team playoff at that point. So the two will play the group of five team, and then 3 and 4 will play, and then, well, then I think you're missing out on like who gets to play number one at the end. But hopefully you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I then that's, I think, a little bit more of a equitable way of doing it. But the issue even then would be conferences would still have disparities. So like, you know, if the four best teams in the country in any given year just happen to be in the SEC, well, then why the hell are we playing against each other and then,
Mm.
not playing, the ACC gets to have a chance at the national championship, even though they're not even one of the best teams. Like Indiana, Ohio State, many people, even though I don't think Ohio State, that doesn't surprise me. They got beat by Indiana because they're not as great as they were last year. Um, so that doesn't surprise me at all. I think this year's national championship race is going to be very interesting, guys. It's going to be very interesting. I think Georgia, the way that Georgia played yesterday against Alabama, their offense is a locomotive, and hopefully, and we're going to talk about our offensive coordinator coming up. I don't know how they do it. You have Stockton now. You used to have who was the guy before Stockton? Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
Then before him, who'd you have before him?
God, was it for Jake Fromm before Bennett or no? Fromm was way back then.
Well, you had Carson Beck.
Oh yeah, Carson Beck.
But before Carson Beck, they just always have these quarterbacks that just know how to freaking run the offense. Like, are very well coached, not like super talented from like a arm talent or physical standpoint, but Gunnar Stockton is just going from the Notre Dame game last year where he had to play in that game in the playoff to what he's doing right now. It's just like he is running that offense like a freaking general. They are like basically unstoppable because when you have a guy that knows, okay, snap the ball. Here's the best option. Boom, right there. Like DJ Lagway, look at snap the ball. Okay, guy's wide open. It's like he doesn't even see the guy. He doesn't even have a clue who's open and who's not. And it's like, what do we do? What do we do? Sack. What do we do? Run, strip ball. What do we do? Throw it into triple coverage, get intercepted. That does not happen with Stockton. When the ball, and Alabama's defense, I think their offense was trash, but the Alabama defense played well enough for them to win, assuming the offense brought something. The Alabama defense was blitzing. They were like, okay, we can't give him time. Let's come after him. Let's try to stop the run. Let's try to do this. Let's try to do that. But the turnovers early, the block punt and the interception led to an automatic 14-0 lead that the Alabama offense and Simpson just could not come from back. But all I got to say is, from that standpoint, I think Georgia that is the team that I would be the most worried about. And believe it or not, the second team, if we're looking at these playoffs before we start talking about our coaches, is Texas Tech Red Raiders. People are not talking about Texas Tech. I saw on some of these message boards yesterday when, the Ohio State was talking about, oh, we're gonna kill Indiana, and Ohio State fans were like, yeah, we're 30 points better than Texas Tech. That is a trash team. Big 12 is trash. I was like, y'all are not 30 points. Y'all aren't even 30 points better than Northwestern. Okay, and Texas Tech would beat them like 51-7. Texas Tech, I'm telling you right now, I would not want to play that. They are a nasty team. And Arizona State was really good last year from the Big 12. Arizona State was really good last year. I think Texas Tech is a factor better than that Arizona State team last year. Texas Tech has a full team. Offense, defense, special teams, really good coaching. They are a buzzsaw. And the only time they lost a game, I think the quarterback was hurt. He had like an elbow injury or something, or whatever the injury was. And they still almost won against Arizona State. They still almost won the game. But ever since he's played, they've been winning by 30 points. That is a very dangerous team right now. That is a very dangerous team. I would not want anything to do with them. And you're saying Oregon? I don't know. Let me tell you something. Red Raiders might get something.
No, hey, they might, man. They have one of the best linebacker groups in the country. What number 13 and Rodriguez is doing out there, man. Their little mustache crew, they're dirty, man. They
mustache crew. They are good.
Now, the quarterback for Texas Tech, he's a little inconsistent at times. I think if you can get a good amount of pressure on him, I think that, you can cause some havoc. But they have really good receivers on the outside. They can run the ball. But is his name Mads? Not Madsen. His name's Morrison. Oh, fuck. Do you know his name? I can't think. It starts with an M. I know it's spelled weird. There's an H in there. That's like strange. But yeah, no, he's a guy. He's a good quarterback, but he makes a lot of mistakes. And I think if you're a defense that can really capitalize on the mistakes, I think that you can beat Texas Tech. And I think that this Oregon defense and Dan Lanning, I think, might be able to scheme around that. But like I said, in the upcoming weeks, we'll get into it. We'll do our prediction on our brackets. Because man, EJ, before we get into this coaching talk, I just want to put on screen our and I know you're watching the stream, so you'll be able to see it. Let me see if I can get it up now. Our preseason brackets, which is they're interesting. Let's just say that, just to kind of like take a look back on what we did.
Accountability. That's what I like, Logan. Accountability.
All right, it's this one here. I'm gonna open it up for you guys.
We like accountability. Second. I think I had Boise in there.
All right, we don't want that. Oh no, can I not get it up? 1 second, guys. So we want this one to go. We want this one to be the... Okay, all right, here we go. This is my preseason bracket. I'll be the first one to take a little bit of the fall. So the seeds that I had Alabama in the number 1 seed. I know, I had them going all the way. I had Penn State winning the Big Ten right there at the number 2 seed. Clemson winning the ACC at the number 3 seed. And Ohio State at number 4. I had number 5 Texas A&M, which I think is a good call because no one had Texas A&M really up that high.
Yeah, that was. Hey, you were very high on them. That's a great. Yeah.
Number 6 Oregon, it's pretty accurate. Number 7 Notre Dame. Number 8 Georgia. Number 9 Texas Tech. I did have Texas Tech up there. And number 10 LSU. Jesus. With number 11 being Georgia Tech and number 12 Boise State. So, not the most pretty thing there.
Well, your champion is still in there.
My champion's still in there. Two of my Final Four teams are still in there. I just want to talk about it real quick. Number 12 Boise State against A&M. I had A&M going. I had A&M versus Ohio State. A&M going to the semifinal. Texas Tech and Georgia had Georgia beating Texas Tech, which I think we would still think that would happen now, today. But then I had Bama beating Georgia in an SEC championship rematch there, and having Bama go forward to play Texas A&M in the semifinal. Georgia Tech and Oregon. I had Oregon beating Georgia Tech and Oregon losing to Clemson, and then LSU playing Notre Dame beating LSU, and then Notre Dame and Penn State, with Penn State moving on, with the Final Four being, that's what she said, Texas A&M and Bama, Clemson and Penn State, Texas A&M and Bama go on, Bama wins, and then Clemson and Penn State, with Penn State winning. So Texas A&M could still make a run. I'm hoping that happens, so my bracket isn't too brutal here. Hopefully Bama will get some dubs too. But yeah, man, crazy to look at, EJ. Crazy. And then we'll bring up you two here in a second.
You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think you got half of the teams right.
Yeah. We'll take it.
That's pretty good. Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm not too mad with that. All right, EJ, your turn.
Oh God. What was
right.
my?
Let's see what we got. So, national championship for EJ is the Texas Longhorns. Again, you had Ohio State though. You had Ohio State playing Texas, so you did have Ohio State going quite a bit. So I do give you credit there. I was low on them. So number 1 seed you had Texas. Number 2 seed you had Penn State. Number 3 you had Ohio State. Number 4 you had Clemson. Number 5 you had Bama. Number 6 you had Notre Dame. Number 7 you had Georgia. Number 8 you had Oregon. Number 9 you had Florida. Number 10 you had Miami. Number 11 Texas Tech, and then Boise State. You had Texas Tech in there. And yeah, so how many did you have of the same? Let's see. You had Ohio State, Bama.
I think I had 5 teams.
Yeah.
Right?
Georgia, Oregon, Texas Tech. I had 6.
I had 6. I had 6.
Look at us. So we both got half. I'm happy with that. And
okay, first of all, Texas should have been a lot better than what they were. What the hell? That's a travesty that they were that bad. Florida, we should have been a hell of a lot better than we were. What the hell were we doing? Almost, it was between Boise and USF that I was going to do number 12. Yeah, and Penn State, they should have been, they fell off the map, but
yep.
Hey, look, if Ohio State gets all the way to it, hey, there you go. But we also have to do our SwampCast bracket challenge.
Yes.
Because we will launch that for everyone so that, see the link. We're going to post the link.
No, I like that a lot. So what we'll do, EJ, is whenever we do the actual predictions, we'll actually, like you said, promote it all over social media, and then everyone can come to this live, and we'll make our selections live, and you guys can as well. We'll have the link in the description and everything later on. So definitely be ready for that in the upcoming weeks. You guys can join our group, and we can all do the bracket challenge together, which I think would be a good time. But yeah, no,
and Rob's right. UF and Boise were out in the week 2.
Yep.
We aren't who we thought we were in week 2.
Nope. Your Ohio State is like your Texas A&M for me. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what you're hoping on, and I'm kind of the same. But that's great, dude. These are just so much fun to kind of go back and take a peek at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm happy that you save those. That's great.
I love it. Well, that's going to be our college football playoff final ranking reaction, man. You guys let us know what you think down in the comment section down below, man. We love to hear all of y'all's thoughts and ideas, man. On some great Florida Gator news, we actually hired an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator. EJ, you ready to dive into that?
Woo!
Let's do it, baby. Let's start with defensive coordinator. Save the OC. I'm gonna tease everyone. We'll get to that in a bit. We went and hired Brad White, defensive coordinator from Kentucky, after their whole coaching staff got let go and they fired Mark Stoops. Brad White was on the market. We went and attacked and got him. Him and John Summerall worked together at Kentucky, I believe in 2021, when John Summerall was on the staff. Brad White has been the official offensive coordinator, or defensive coordinator, sorry, there from 2019 to 2025, so that is 6 years. He was the I think outside linebacker coach for them in 2018. He just to look some quick stats before we get into all the like efficiency stuff. He runs a 4-3 defense, pretty traditional. That's kind of that Mark Stoops type style, with the two high safeties. Definitely the bend don't break style defense. He will go 3-4 sometimes, with the three linemen. In the four linebackers, which I personally like 3-4 a lot more than 4-3, but that's just me. So I like to see that. It's also what John Summerall runs, is a 3-4 usually. So I'm assuming that's what they're going to do coming to Florida, which I'm really excited about with these talented linebackers we do have. He has developed some really nice NFL talent. Josh Allen, Josh Paschal, Maxwell Hairston. I think he has 6 picks in the first 2 rounds on the defensive side of the ball since he's been at Kentucky. So all those guys are still in the NFL, dominating. So really cool to see from that standpoint. There's a guy who's had pretty successful defenses his time there at Kentucky. A couple years where he's had really good defenses. And like I said, I'm going to dive into all those stats over the past 6 years, and just so you guys can do do whatever you want with the information I'm going to give you there. But EJ, how do you feel about this hire overall when you got the news?
Yeah, real quick. I was really excited about this hire. A lot of people are saying, oh, he doesn't hire his friends. Why do you hire it? Just because they work together doesn't mean they're best friends. That means they respect one another. You work with people, and that's how you meet people. And he had great respect for Brad White and what Brad White brings to the table from a defensive coordinator standpoint. I actually, in going and looking at the Kentucky defenses of the last 4 years, 5 years, I have a lot of respect for Brad White as well. The thing about coaching, less talented players, that are 2-star, 3-star players, are typically more coachable initially than the more talented players. The more, 4 or 5-star players, when you get all those talented players on one team, it's all about me, 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 me. And it's hard to coach those guys. So good coaches, like the Urban Meyers, the Kirby Smarts, are able to make those 5 stars feel like they're crap, feel like they're not that great, so that they become coachable. So that will be sort of the challenge for Brad White, because you're going to be coming into a scenario where you're going to have access to more talented players, and it's how do you get those players feeling like they're coachable and putting them into the right position. He's got a lot of experience. His NFL background. I think it was offense. Outside linebacker coach with the Colts. He developed 14 NFL draft picks. That is important, because when you have a defensive coordinator, and these 14 NFL draft picks, guys, were at Kentucky. I think we had 16 at Florida, which in that same time frame, which for him to have almost just as many at Kentucky, and these guys were lower recruited rankings than our guys, shows about, talent development. He also understands what an NFL player looks like. And at Florida, he's going to be able to put an NFL capable player at every position. And that's really what it's all about, is every single position has to be the best in the country at what they're doing on defense. That was the philosophy for Nick Saban. That's why he won so many championships. I look at every single position: D tackle, right edge, left outside linebacker, middle linebacker. We have to have the best player in the country at each position. And I think Brad White has that same philosophy. The Kentucky defense, a lot of people, well, they play bend but don't break. And the Kentucky fans were like, yeah, he could leave. He could leave. That's complete. These people are complete idiots. Let me tell you something. First of all, your offense can't score. Your offense, you got shut out against Louisville. You couldn't score. So what does that mean? That means your defense has to basically play risk-free football the whole game just so that your sorry ass offense has a chance to get back in the game. So you have to play this umbrella style defense to keep the other team from making big plays, because when you hit a 30, 20 or 30-yard play on a drive, the chances of you scoring go up by what is it, 60%, 70%, something like that. So Kentucky had to play this umbrella defense all year because their offense was so bad the last couple of years. And so I think you won't have that same issue at Florida, because presumably, when we'll talk about the offensive coordinator, we'll be scoring, so the defense will be able to come out there and take a little bit more risks in terms of how they approach. But overall, I think this is a very, very solid defensive coordinator hire. When you think about all the top defensive coordinators in the country, where they were going, where they're going to be head coaches, where they're going to go to top programs, this is one of the top defensive coordinators that we could have gotten. He gets along with the head coach. The head coach trusts him. I'm really happy about this hire. And remember, um, he was I believe they were on the same staff in 2021 when we went up there to Lexington, and we could barely. I think they blocked a field goal, ran it back. We couldn't score. Dan Mullen couldn't figure anything out. So pretty good defense. Defensive coordinator.
Yeah, no, I'm, I will say this: I'm not as high on him as EJ. I think that he's a good hire. I think he's a really good hire. I don't think he's a great hire. I think it's going to be really interesting because he's only been a defensive coordinator at Kentucky, right? So how much of that Mark Stoops influence did he really have on that defense? And that's what I'm curious to see. I do think that John Summerall wouldn't hire him if he didn't think that he could be that aggressive, hard no. I mean, he literally talked about it. He said we want a defense that people fear, right? And so, yeah, and you're right. You're right. That I am really curious about that when you said that UK didn't have great DBs. Yeah, they only had a few good DBs that kind of came out every now and then. So I'm really curious to see, like you said, what he does with the talent at UF and what he does with just that an offense that's actually going to be able to move the ball. So I just want to kind of go through some of the metrics here and some of the statistics with you guys. And since we're on talent, we can kind of talk about that. So the past 5 years past 6 years he's been at Kentucky, out of the 24/7 talent composite, they were the 34th, 26th, 31st, 26th, 31st, 24th, and 27th ranked team in the country when it comes to talent, while Florida is consistently, around 15 to like 6, around there. And so we're a top 15 talent. They were top 30 on average. And so he's going to have, pretty much double the talent right there, EJ, which I think is massive. Oh, yeah, Surtain, the defensive back coach. Yeah, I agree. I think that'd be a great pickup. But yeah, so like you said, he's gonna have a lot more talent to play with here. I went through, and there's 4 different metrics that I love to look at, AJ, and that's the defensive ranking, overall total defense, drive efficiency, explosive rank, and then the play efficiency. I have a really cool website I like to look at that has those 4 statistics there, and overall, these numbers aren't abysmal. We'll get into that. So if you want to disregard 2020 and disregard this past year, they're not bad. 2020, obviously no one had defense that year, right? No one was practicing. That was just kind of a weird year, so we can kind of throw that away. 2025, they dealt with a lot of injuries, and just, horrible offense as well, not great. And you saw that too. When their offense was playing against Florida, their defense is locking us down. And then you go to I think it was Louisville, right? The opposite is a good case there. And so, they're when they have a good offense, they're not bad. Now, let's take a look at 2024, right? Just kind of, I would say the last one you can kind of look at. The 45th ranked defense in the country. Their drive efficiency was 28th in the country, which is pretty good considering the talent of 24th in the country. Explosive rank, they were 31st, and play efficiency, they were 56th. Those are pretty above average numbers, decent in the SEC. 2023. This is one that we can kind of take a look at, and I won't go back any further than this. They were 47th in the country. The drive efficiency was 119th. Now, what is drive efficiency? Drive efficiency means and you'll see by these other two statistics I give you, you'll be like, why the hell is that so high and these are so low? Drive efficiency is basically how are you actually stopping teams from getting points, right? You can have a really bad play efficiency, but a really good drive efficiency and vice versa. And that's what happened this year. They had the 12th play efficiency in the country. So play by play, they were doing good, but and even explosive rank, they were number 18th. But just teams were finding ways to score and kind of have control, consistent control, which is kind of that, bend don't break style defense. That's kind of an issue. So that's kind of a wild outlier. But like I said, 18th explosive rank, 12th in play efficiency, which is kind of what I'm, mainly worried about. And so I'm pretty, like I said, I'm pretty happy with this hire. It's not, not my favorite. But it could have been definitely 10 times worse. The guys have worked with each other, so that cohesion's going to be there. This guy develops linebackers like no other, and so imagine Miles Graham under this guy who's already great. Imagine Aaron Childs, and some of these other guys that we're bringing in, these young guys like Ty Jackson, right? These young freshmen we haven't even seen yet. I think that he's going to develop these guys very well, and I'm really excited to see that. Really curious to see who he brings in at positional, these position coaches, EJ. I know we mentioned Surtain in the chat, but I think overall our defense is going to be if he was having like I said defensive ranking. I'll just name these out before I end on this: 2019 37th, 2020 48th, 2021 22nd, 2022 16th, 2023 47th, 55th, and then 47th, 45th, and then 52nd. He's going to definitely double that, right? So our defense is going to consistently be a top 20, top 15 defense mixed with a really good offense. I think it can be deadly. So yeah, I think it's a really good, safe, good hire, that I'm definitely pleased with.
Yeah, I mean, I agree too. And, they had 7 straight, I believe, from 2018 to 2024, even though he wasn't there in 2018. Top 45 defenses. And I don't think we had, I think we had one defense that was ranked in the top 45. I think we're 65th this year or something like that. So even though our defense, I think, played really well in the earlier part of the year, and then the statistics in the Ole Miss, Tennessee games just really dropped our defense, off the map. In 2019, Kentucky was the 13th nationally in scoring defense, which is also how I would define defensive efficiency. I like to interplay the basketball and football. Basketball off defensive efficiency is points per possession. So how many points do you give up every time the other team has possession of the ball relative to everyone else in the country, adjusted for strength of schedule? In football, points per play. Last year, Ole Miss had one of the top defensive efficiency teams in the country. They were giving up, I think it was like 0.17 points per play. These are stats that really tell you who a really good defense is. That's why I really like Texas Tech. Their defensive efficiency from a points per play standpoint is one of the top out there. Now, you say, well, they didn't play anyone. Well, yeah, but they beat everyone just as bad as who Ohio State or Georgia would have beat them by. I mean, they were beating teams like 52-7, So, points per play, they were top 20 in the nation 3 of the seasons that he was there, which is absolutely great. The year before last, 2023, they were 113 yards rushing a game, which was second in the SEC, 17th in the nation. They had 35 sacks that year. I remember we went a few seasons prior to last year where in 2019, Grantham had, I believe, 51 sacks on the season, and the first 2.5 years of uh, the Billy Napier era, we had like 42 sacks total in 2.5 seasons. We had more sacks in 1 year under Grantham than the first 2.5 years under Napier. So I don't think we'll have an issue getting to the quarterback. Um, sacks absolutely kill drives. Though that's a very important uh, measure. But then lastly, I also think it's complementary football. I know that, people don't like that since Billy Napier was saying it, but it is a term outside of, Billy Napier. And that just means your defense has to match the offense that you bring to the table. So, if your offense is a wide open, explosive, spread the ball, we want to try to score 40 points a game, kind of like Tennessee. Well, then your defense has to have a really good defensive line that gets pressure, because the other team is now going to be in a position where, oh crap, we have to keep up with these guys. Like, we have to score points. So they're going to go to shotgun spread, change the playbook, try to throw the ball. And if you have this slow defensive line that can't get pressure because your defense is based on stopping the run, well, the other team isn't going to even try to run the ball. That was the issue with LSU back in 2019, even though they won the national championship. Their defensive statistics weren't really that good because, they would get up by so many points and the other team would go no huddle, 2-minute drill offense, and their defense really couldn't create pressure. So it just depends on the offensive style, which we'll talk about too. Does the offense want to play keep away? Do we want to run the ball? Are we going to be a little bit more of a passing team? And then I think the defense complements that with the style of play that they're going to have. But then also you have to build your defense to be successful against the schedule that you're playing. So the best couple of teams on the schedule every year are going to be Georgia, which that is an NFL style, you know, almost like Kansas City Chiefs style offense where it's like, no matter what you do, no matter what your defensive stance is, they know where the weak point is. They know how to go to it, and their quarterback is smart enough to immediately go to it and throw the ball on target. So you have to have a very disciplined defense uh, to play against something like that, which I think he will. I think this will be um, the best defense that we've seen at Florida in a while. Um, and that's saying a lot because we have had a couple of seasons where we had really good defenses, um, at Florida, and that was basically from talent alone. So we'll see what happens. He runs kind of like this 3-4, 4-2-5 looking kind of front. But the thing that I like about Kentucky when we've played them the last couple of years, um, when they line up, you can tell a lot about how good a defensive coordinator is from how the defense lines up before the snap of the ball. Um, our team typically, Ron Roberts will surrender certain routes immediately just from the way the defensive formation is aligned, and it's whether or not the quarterback's smart enough to realize that and immediately go to it. Um, when we've played Kentucky, it doesn't look like they surrender anything initially, and your quarterback just has to be really, really good at you know post snap reads, progressions, and delivering the ball with accuracy when you're playing against Kentucky. And then having injuries and receivers out of the game and all that really hurts. But I think this is going to be a really good defense under Coach White. So we'll see what happens.
It'll be interesting for sure. Very excited to see what they implement, what exact formation they go with. Like I said, I'm praying it's a 3-4 because I love that. So we will see. And like you said, that even helps getting to the quarterback, right? 3-4, you can disguise so much stuff. It's like, who the hell's coming? You genuinely don't know. So that's why I'm a big fan of that. So we'll see. On the other side of the ball, We got Buster Faulkner, Georgia Tech offensive coordinator. This was the hire everyone was super hype about that I'm really excited about. Like I said, Georgia Tech guy now. Before this, though, 2016, he was the Arkansas State offensive coordinator. In 2017, he was 2017 to 2018, he was the Arkansas State offensive coordinator and tight end coach. 2019, Southern Miss, he was the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. And he was at Georgia from 2020 to 2022. He was quarterback and quality control. Stetson Bennett is someone that obviously was under him, walk-on, Heisman finalist in 2022, the mailman, 2 national championships in 2021 and 2022, and then 2023 to 2025 has been at Georgia Tech as offensive coordinator and tight end coach. EJ, this is a big hire, man. One of the best offensive coordinators in the country, has been successful every single place he's been. I think this is definitely a home run hire. I think people are going to be very excited about this guy. He loves to spread the ball out, loves to obviously run a lot, but he loves his 11 personnel, which we'll see quite a bit. He likes to spread out and use sideline to sideline, likes to take advantage of defenses with a lot of motion as well. Pre-snap motion. I'm really excited for this offense, CJ.
Bust the bus.
Yes, sir.
Buster Faulkner. We love this guy. Don't we love this guy? Listen, this is a tremendous hire. Gone are the days of just nonsense. What the hell are we doing? The calls don't make any sense. It's 4th and 1. We're not man enough to get a freaking yard. Gone are the days of 3rd and 6, and we run a 2-yard shallow out, and the quarterback can't even make an accurate throw on that. And then when they do, we get hit sticked for a 2-yard gain on 3rd and 6. Those days are gone, Gator fans. Those days are gone. Buster Faulkner comes from he's cut from a very different cloth. It's a what works pro style hybrid offense that it blends air raid. It looks like an air raid with some spacing, with the spacing principles, but it's a heavy power run, and he's got multiple formations to accomplish the same thing, which is wear the defense down up front so that by the end of the game, we have a strategy. We have running game opportunity. We have short passing game opportunity. We have outside deep pass opportunity. He runs like 6 or 7 different run schemes. They go zone. We're going to see a lot of zone running schemes, like we saw at Georgia Tech. We're going to see a lot of counters, which I really, really love, where we've got pulling blockers. And it's a quarterback-centric design. So that's going to be interesting to see, like, if DJ Lagway can pick up on what Coach Faulkner is going to be putting down. And we got to talk about that. Is DJ Lagway still going to be the quarterback? Who this, that, and the other. I honestly think Lagway can be very effective in this scheme. I think he could be very effective. It's a quarterback like Haynes King left Texas A&M. He was not a great fit for that scheme, which was more, Jimbo Fisher had a little bit more of the quarterback had to figure it out and throw accurately down the field. When he was a quarterback that was more so suited around, an embedded RPO read game with design power runs, that's where he was successful. And so we went to Georgia Tech and said, Buster Faulkner is going to be our Buster Faulkner said, hey, we're going to design this offense around you, my friend, because the quarterback is the most important position. And so that's why I think no matter who the quarterback is, we're going to have really good opportunities. He's had a top 15 rushing attack no matter where he's gone or where he's been the coach. And when you can run the football, everything else is on the table. You you look at the Alabama Georgia game. That was the most important game when you're looking at why the run game is so important. I'm sitting there looking at this game. I'm like, Alabama's just not even trying. Some of them, they weren't even trying to run the football, and they would run it and then get stopped, and then they'd be like, okay, I guess we got to go back and pass 20. No, Buster Faulkner is going to have run plays designed that we're going to put a hat on a hat and freaking knock your ass over, and we're coming. And you saw when Georgia Tech played Georgia, it was a deliberate attack. Now they lost 2 years in a row, but those games were very close, very close. And Georgia is a very difficult offense to defend with how well Stockton executes from the quarterback position. So Faulkner, I think, is going to be able to put together an offense that's centered around the run, centered around run RPO. Hopefully, we'll get some news of Jaden Baugh is coming back, because I think if you have Jaden Baugh and a Lagway with a Faulkner type of offensive scheme, that is going to be a very just on a face value will be very difficult to defend, even if you're not even trying to throw the ball, even if you're just hitting them with runs, screens, counters, power run, dump off passes underneath screens, quick slants. You can just possess the ball the whole game down the field, wear the defense out, and then in the fourth quarter, we're just freaking bulldozing over you to get touchdowns. And this is how Georgia Tech beats teams that are less talented than them, and they win all these games because they're doing that with their offense. Their defense hasn't really even been that great, but because they're so dominant with their offense, uh, they're wearing these teams out. Then you complement that with an explosive passing game. If you have a Dallas Wilson back, if you have a Vernell Brown back, if you get a Mizell back, now all of a sudden, Faulkner is putting those guys in positions to actually win games. We saw, Billy Napier, who the hell knows what he was doing with his rotation of players. Faulkner is no nonsense. He's going to say, okay, number 8 looks like when we throw you the ball, you can make some guys miss and bust it wide open. Well, hell, that's what we're about to do. So I think this is a great hire. We are going to be a very difficult offense to deal with just at a face value. And it just depends on how quickly whoever the quarterback is can, get a feel for the style of play and what we're trying to accomplish on each and every drive. And so, sorry for the long-winded answer, but I do think this is a really good hire.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're good, dude. That was, I agree with everything you just said. And Rob made a great point. All of, but 2 of DJ's, interceptions happened on third down, which tells me he was trying to make, plays instead of actually fighting for another down. And then we got your boy said most of Lagway's interceptions were because the ball bounced someone, and that's true as well. I think a lot of it is also just timing of just throwing the ball, which is footwork, and there's a lot of issues there. But I think it's also he's not comfortable in a tight. Think about it. He did a air raid spread offense in high school. He was used to. I mean, it looked like a Tennessee offense that he was in high school. So when you go from that to when you're playing in a phone booth, and you already have the significant upgrade to playing at the college level from high school, like that's tough on a quarterback, especially when he when he didn't have any off-season practices or anything either. So you'd have to look at it from that point of view. And like you said, in a actual spread offense, the pro style, they're going to run the ball. The RPOs are heavily used in this offense. And so I think that could get his confidence up a little bit. You have 2 things. You have two decisions you can make. It's either hand the ball off to Jaden Ball or throw it to Dallas Wilson. You know what I mean? So either way, you're going to be fine. And so if you can get his confidence up with that, bring up those safeties, and then you have a strong arm quarterback in DJ Lagway who can hit you over top now, I could just see this offense being insanely deadly, EJ. Especially this defense can get pressure on quarterbacks, put pressure on them, get sacks, get turnovers. I think that this Gator team next year could be a really serious threat to a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Sam is here. What's going on, Sam? How are you, man? Said that the schedule's much easier next year. You're 100% right. We start off with we play the Camels, I think, week 1. Who the hell the Camels? We play the Camels, I think, week 1. We got FAU right up there as well, back to back. FAU went 4-8 this year. Horrific defense, terrible defense. I think they were in like the bottom 3 in college football. It was insane at the FBS level. So yeah, we're looking really, really solid here in these first 2 games to actually have a little bit of a nice kind of wind up. We're not getting thrown into the Wolves' den to start out with. So I'm really excited to see DJ in this offense. I think he's going to stay. I think Jaden Ball throw the bag at that man. The wide receiver group, I think we got to go out and get some dogs on the offensive line. I think that's where we really need to hit in the transfer portal, EJ. Even if all our guys were coming back from this year, I would still be like, go get a bunch of offensive linemen from the transfer portal, please. You talked about the GT counter and all these different movements that the offensive line are going to be doing in this offense with all the RPOs and stuff as well. They got to have heavy discipline in that sense, EJ. I think our offensive line is gonna be extremely important. You talked about how the run game with Buster is always very consistent. His explosive rank is always very consistent. This past year, 18th in the country. Play efficiency, 28th in the country this year. The drive efficiency was not great. A lot of that had to do with them getting into the inside the 30, inside the 40 in enemy territory. The play, the field getting more condensed, and you also got to look at the fact that Georgia, it wasn't a play calling issue, it was execution. And you got to look at Georgia Tech's, talent as well. They're 39th in the country this year. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Florida, we're top 12, whatever we are. So he's going to have a lot more talent as well, a lot more playmakers out there to go make plays. And so while, the drive efficiency is something that you can't overlook, like I said, it was 125th in the country. I think, a lot of that had to do with just you look at the North Carolina State game, you look at the Georgia game, right? They went for a lot of field goals inside like the 30-yard line. And a lot of that had to do with just execution issues. I don't think it's really play calling. You get better players. You get to coach them up a little bit more. I think that execution thing kind of fixes itself, and it won't be a problem going forward. So I'm really, really excited, man, to see Buster with this offense. I think it's gonna be dirty. It's gonna be nasty. He, like I said, loves to spread out the ball, loves his RPOs. He's a quarterback coach that did really well with the quarterbacks at Georgia. He wasn't the quarterback coach at Georgia Tech. Maybe you bring in someone at in that position coaching, in that positional coaching spot at Florida. I don't know how they're going to go about that, but he did good at Georgia. I mean, he developed Stetson Bennett to be a Heisman Trophy winner, or Heisman candidate. So I think that's going to be pretty important there. Not trophy winner. He was a finalist. But I do think that's all those things point to some really good signs for this Florida Gator offense, EJ. I think DJ, like you said, DJ, like you said, I think is going to be really, really, really good in this offense. If he could just settle down, get a full off season of practice, I think that's going to be absolutely massive.
Yeah.
You said, am I the only one who loves ball, but running backs are a dime a dozen, and having an NFL GM, he might not make him a priority? No, I'm telling you right now, I mean, even though the NFL GM is going to be, doing a lot of the talent stuff, the talent acquisition and things like that, John Summerall talked about how he wants to keep Ball. I think when the head coach, they said they're going to work in tandem, we're going to throw the bag at Ball. If Ball leaves, it's not going to be a money issue. He's just going to want to go somewhere where he thinks he has a better chance of getting to a national championship maybe. But like you said, this Buster Faulkner has consistently had one of the best rushing attacks in the country. They're a rush first team, or like one of the strong power teams. I don't know why you wouldn't want to be in this offense. I don't know why you wouldn't want to stay in Gainesville. It seems like he loves Gainesville. Stay with a lot of the teammates, especially if DJ Lagway's coming back. You already know your quarterback well. There's already that cohesion there. I think that this is a home run hire in a lot of ways, EJ.
For sure. It's definitely a home run hire for Florida. It's gone are going to be the days of frustrating offenses that don't make sense, right? Which is what we saw repeatedly with Billy Napier as offensive coordinator. Um, just you know, the fact that wide receivers are going to get open via different formations, play action, RPO, um, and the thing about Faulkner that I've noticed is he doesn't just have guys just out there, just going through the motions. It's everything is with purpose. So if we have a tight end, uh, whether it's a Hanson or a Livingston that's out there, they're going to have to be out there and execute and make a play. Right now, we just have okay, you have a tight end in your position, just get out there and we'll throw you the ball and see what happens. No, it's you have to be able to execute, catch, break a tackle, shake somebody off, and get a first down. Okay, it's going to make a lot more sense, and I'm really excited about you know watching that. And being able to run the football effectively is the most strategic thing you can do in football. So seeing the offensive line coach or whoever that ends up being um, is also going to be really important. But one quick thing about our schedule, since the chat brought it up, so usually the even years for Florida is usually more favorable from a schedule standpoint, and that's usually been because we have 8 SEC games, and the game, so 4 on the road, 4 at home. But y'all know we play Georgia every year on a neutral field. On the even years, the Georgia game is considered a road game, even though it's a neutral site game. So you get 4 games in the swamp and only 3 true road games, plus the game against Georgia, which is a road game, but it's neutral site. This is my theory on why Florida has only won national championships on even years, because as you all know, it's only about how many games you've lost. It does They could care less about how many teams you beat. And so on those even years, we've always had a favorable schedule. Next year, they're changing it up to where we have 9 conference games. So typically, every team every other year will have 4 home games, 5 road games. Then it'll switch the next year. You have 5 home games, 4 road games. But the 4 teams in the conference that have a neutral site conference game every year, what they've worked out is every year you will have 4 true home games. So we'll have 4 true home games in Gainesville. You will have 4 true road games every year, and then you will have your neutral site game. So I really, really like that because it's going to be completely even. We aren't going to have a year where you have 5 road games and then only 3 home games and then the neutral site game, right? Because then that doesn't really make any sense. So you have a complete scheduling disadvantage at that point to have 5 true road games and only 3 true home games with the neutral site. We're not going to have that. We're going to have 4 home, 4 road, 1 neutral every single year. Scott Strickland gets a lot of crap, but he fought for that. And I think that's a very fair way to go about the scheduling process. Next year, the road games are going to be Kentucky. I believe we play Kentucky, Auburn, Missouri, Texas. On the road. Those are all winnable games.
EJ,
Next year.
we really got to go to that Auburn game, man. I think that'd be so much fun. To see the
Oh,
goalish and I think that'd be so cool.
yeah,
We might have
goalish,
to do that.
man. That's gonna be yeah. And we like never play Auburn.
No, and we're big rivals. Another thing too, the actual official schedule is gonna be released this Thursday, and so
Oh,
we
great.
might do like an emergency live, or I don't know what we'll figure it out. But I think it'd be really fun to go through because we don't got to spend too much time on it. But we'll actually get the official dates, which is very important. You know what I mean? Because if we play, we know obviously we only have 4 games scheduled in Florida Atlantic, the Camels, Georgia, and Florida State. But all the other games, the other 8 games, right, are all to be announced. And
Yeah.
so this could look like an easy schedule or bad, and then it just be flipped on its head because we play at Texas and at Auburn and Oklahoma and Ole Miss all in a row, and then we want to kill ourselves. So we don't really know, what that's going to be like. But just looking at it now, EJ, it's not a easy schedule, but it's not what it has been, and I think that's pretty refreshing. Also, kind of what you were talking about earlier, 100%.
Yeah. So I agree. Let's talk about the schedule when it comes out, because and these schedules are never even. They're never equal across college football, which makes it, a challenge. But again, we don't play Tennessee and LSU every year anymore. So, um, that's going to be kind of fascinating to see how that works out. Um, but anyway, last but not least, I think that Faulkner and White are going to be great coordinators for us. Our recruiting class right now, I think, is ranked, what is it, 16th? Um, but it's ranked really low because we don't have a lot of commits right now. We only have, I believe we have 18 commits out of a possible, what, 25 slots or something like that. USC, who's number one right now, is, they got 30, they have 35 commits. Are you kidding me? So yeah, so you got twice the commits, then your class is going to be ranked. But when you look at the actual composite per player ranking, um, we're 10th right now. So, that's a pretty good transition class ranking. You got Will Griffin coming in as, quarterback. He was really stoked to, have the new coaching staff come in. Um, and you still have an elite, the 5-star pass rusher with Jalen McCoy, and then KJ Ford coming in. So, those are really important guys, for, Florida. We also still have on our roster, the guy from Pennsylvania, Jaden Woods, number 15. Um, he was great this year. He was one of our, young, talented stars. So you get him, you complement him with some of these highly talented players, with the Brad White defense. We could really get out there and be nasty and get out there and you know have a defense that can get some stops on 3rd and 17. Unlike you know what we've been doing. So really excited about this coaching staff. I'm hoping that we can continue to um, get good players in here. I'm interested to see what happens in the transfer portal too.
Yeah, no, and that's what Sam mentioned, and that's what I was saying earlier, Sam. We have to hit the portal hard for I would say linemen on both sides. I think it'd be nice with Sap going. I think we got some good guys coming in, but I think we need to beef that up, especially if we are playing more of a 3-4. If we're only having three traditional down linemen, then we really gotta get some big bodies in there, big nose tackle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we really need to hit the line hard on offense and defense in the portal. So we'll see what happens there. Get me a safety. I'm done with Castell. Yeah, no, I'm sure. I know we had a few commits, and so I'm not too worried about the safety look. But yeah, definitely, good class. Nobody really. We had one flip, I think, the tight end that went to Washington. But other than that, every other guy stayed committed to the University of Florida, and I think that's a testament to Billy Napier, and I think that's a testament to John Summerall. So we love to see that. Just a beautiful thing to see. I mean, I was telling EJ, I was like, it's cool that John Summerall, won the championship and that he's in the playoff, but bro needs to get to Gainesville ASAP. We need him here now. So I'm gonna be an Ole Miss fan that one game. So we can get bro back, but because it would actually, I think it would hurt us to have him out another week. I think we need him back like ASAP. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, really excited going forward, man, with these coordinator hires, EJ. Definitely a beautiful sight to see. All right, EJ, I think that's kind of it for the office coordinator hires, the college football playoff final rankings. We have the Army and Navy game this weekend. We don't got to spend too much time on this. Haven't really watched a lot of these teams, only really Navy at some points throughout the year. Navy is favored by 5.5. This will be. Oh, let me turn that off. This should be a pretty fun one, man. I'm just gonna make my pick right now. I like this Navy team. They're favored by 5.5. I'm gonna take them on points too. I think they're gonna win by more. Army struggled a little bit throughout this season. Navy, though, they've only had 2 losses this whole year, and that's to North Texas and to Notre Dame. And North Texas, obviously, lost to Tulane in the American Athletic Conference Championship. Notre Dame's Notre Dame, right? Probably should have been a playoff team. And so I like this Navy team a lot. You never know what's going to happen in the Army and Navy game, though, because, they both have that run-heavy, crazy offense like we're still in the 1930s. And so it's all about, possession. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that one, EJ. You want to make your pick real quick before we get into basketball?
Man, yeah. I got to go with Navy in this one. I think Navy, has proven to be just a formidable team, even though they did get worked by, um, a couple of the better Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Navy is, I think they're just too tough to stop with their, offensive attack. Um, but the Army Navy game, you never know. I think it'll be a pretty close. I think it'll be a pretty close uh, game. Um, but I got to go Navy.
I'm with you. I'm with you there, EJ. See what happens. Always love watching that game, though. The vibes are always great. Who's going to be calling that this year, though? Is it still? It's on CB. Oh, it's on CBS still. So I'm assuming it's the other guys. All right.
Yeah.
Basketball, EJ. Give us your thoughts, man. I don't like Xavier Lee. Go ahead.
Basketball. We're playing basketball. So we were here at the Rady tournament. A little bit disappointing with the game against TCU. Um, but overall, this team is really, really good. I still think this team is really, really good. We are very formidable, rebounding, points in the paint, and Thomas Houck, you know, is he's got to be one of the top 5 players in the country. If Thomas Houck, if he had a little bit more handles, like dribbling, and creating his own shot, um, he would easily be like the #1 draft pick in the nation. But he is a formidable centerpiece of the team right now. The challenge right now, I think, with this team is the interplay of the guards with the forwards. And I think Boogie Fland, what we've seen in the last 4 games, is he's starting to get into the fold. He's starting to do what he needs to do to be successful, not just individually, but make the team more successful. And, drive into the paint, get the guy in your hip, drive into the paint, and have a triple option: float game, drive to get the lay in, or kick out. Um, and you saw that in the Duke game. Late in that game, they gave the ball to Boogie and said, "Hey, dribble, penetrate into the lane, give us a chance to win." And we almost won that game. Um, that game was also very frustrating for Florida fans with the way that the game was officiated. Obviously, we don't like to blame the refs.
Terrible.
But it was like, come on, guys, like give us a break. Um,
Goaltending.
Todd Golden was absolutely right. He was like, to beat Duke at Duke, you gotta be 10 points better. Well, actually, you gotta be like 20 points better. But the thing that allows you to win games like that is you just got to be able to make when you shoot the ball and you're open, it has to go in. Like, it's not about how many you make, but it's when you make them. And we just don't hit enough open shots right now. And I think Todd Golden's trying to figure out how to get his team better looks on the offensive side, because last year's team could just hit tough shots. This year's team is going to actually have to take good shots, high percentage looks at the basket in order for them to go in. and I think we'll be able to see that coming up here. Um, yeah, but the Duke game was just it was frustrating to watch. But had we won that game, that would have been huge. But anyway, back to Xavier Lee. Here's the deal. I trust Todd Golden to, you know, make the right decisions here. He's a numbers driven guy. Um, right now, the numbers show you that from an efficiency standpoint, Urban Klabjar should technically be the starting guard opposite Boogie Fland, because Xavier Lee has been to this point. I was hoping that the Rady game and then the Duke game, he would start to be a little bit more effective. But what at least what I've seen from my basketball IQ, from limited basketball IQ that I have, is the step from Princeton to now you're playing at Florida. You're playing against a lot more uh, challenging defensive teams that put a lot more pressure on you. And how do you handle that pressure game in and game out? TCU is going to end up being one of the best defensive teams in the country. Arizona was one of the top defensive teams in the country. Duke is going to be they're going to end the year as a top 10 defensive team in the country. And in all those 3 games that we've played and lost, he's 7 for 33 shooting. Which is not good enough at that guard position, because when you think about these margins, these possessions, we've lost 3 games by a total of what? 12 points, or 4 plus 6, 11 points. We lost, that's 3 or 4 possessions. So on possessions where you go 11 of 33, that's 4 shots is 4 possessions. You go 11 for 33, 12 for 33, which is still a crappy behind percentage. You might be 8-0 right now if you had a guard that shot, you know, 15 out of 33. So when you keep missing those shots, it becomes a liability in these very close games. You have to be able to have an efficient, effective offense from that guard position. There's a lot of pressure on that position to make shots, and not just jacking up shots, but know how to create a shot for your opponents. He's not really getting a lot of assists right now either. Um, the TCU game, we didn't have like hardly any assists in that game. And so, when you're playing that guard position and you're jacking up missed shots after missed shots, those are possessions that otherwise we could have got a higher percentage shot. And by the course of the game, those points, opportunities, those missed opportunities add up to where you don't have enough points on the board to win the game. So Todd Golden's got some decisions to make as you go into SEC play. If Xavier Lee continues to just not be effective making shots, whatever the confidence is, doesn't seem to have a good arc on his 3. When you look at Thomas Houck shoot the 3, it's like you should put it in a textbook. It's like the perfect form on shooting a ball. Xavier Lee is like a laser beam like shot. So when you're shooting a laser beam, the angle of the ball going into the hoop has a very minimal chance of going in, as if it were like it's falling down into the hoop. So, that's an issue. And then you got 3 other guys, Isaiah Brown, Ingram, Cornelius Ingram's kid, and then Alex Lloyd. They've had issues with ball handling and turnovers. But, there's a give or take. Do you have a guy out there that maybe not turn the ball over in Xavier Lee and handles it, but can't score, versus guys who can score, but maybe they'll turn it over 1 or 2 times? That's a juggle 6-7 that Todd Golden's going to have to make. This UConn game on Tuesday, this is paramount. this is if we don't win this game, we won't have any quality non-conference wins. It sucks that all our non-conference good teams were in the top 5. Like Arizona will probably be number 1 when the new poll comes out. Then you play Duke, who probably is number 2. They've had a lot of quality wins. We almost beat them. And now you're playing UConn, who's number 5. So you got to win the UConn game. I think we can win the UConn game, but you're not going to beat UConn if Xavier Lee is going out there going 1 for 10, because that is 9 possessions that you missed an opportunity to score in a game that's going to be very close. So that's the thing that I'm like, hey, Boogie Flan's figuring it out. Xavier Lee's not really figuring it out right now. And if you're jacking up shots and you're missing it, it's a liability. So this UConn game is very important. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Solo Ball and then Silas Dimry, he transferred from Georgia. Remember, we went to Georgia last year and they beat us. Dimry was on that team. He was a point guard. Those two guys playing against our 2 guards are going to be the difference in this game, because I think our front court can outmatch UConn. But if the guards of Ball and Dimry are just getting better shots, the shots are going in, they're not turning it over, they're penetrating, kick it out to a good shooter. UConn is probably going to beat us if Xavier Lee's out there jacking up, missing every shot. So so Todd Golden, hey, national championship coach, we can't roll the dice out there in this game, because this is a must-win game for us for our non-conference schedule when it comes to seeding in the. I think we're going to be really good in the SEC. The SEC is a little bit down this year. We're taking a lot of L's, but we have to win this UConn game for our non-conference resume to be what it needs to be for March Madness seeding. Because UConn is going to be a really good team. This is a 50-50 type game. Every possession matters. We can't be jacking up shots, clanking off the back rim. Now, if we offensive rebound and get a putback, hey, maybe that's offense right there. But that's all I got to say about that. If our team can get to 30% shooting threes, I think we'd be a formidable team. But that's all I got to say about that. Hopefully we can win this game against UConn. If you're in San Diego, by the way, we're having a UConn watch party. It comes on at 6 p.m. At Bay City Brewery in downtown San Diego. So if you're in the area, come on by. We'll have discounted beers. We can for every missed 3, you gotta take a shot. That's how we're doing it.
Trying to kill people, EJ.
You're gonna be freaking plastered.
Shit, dude.
Right. We're gonna be plastered watching that UConn game. I don't know, but maybe this is a game where he goes like 5 for 10 threes. If he goes 5 for 10 threes, hell, maybe we'll win. If he goes 5 for 10 threes, we will definitely beat UConn. 1 for 10, it'll be a close game. We'll probably lose. 5 for 10, definitely win.
Yeah, I mean, they have a win over, I think, is it BYU and then Illinois, I think UConn does. So UConn's a good team, man. Already 2 top 13 wins on their resume, EJ. So they're a nasty little team. A couple of other good wins, too. They took that one loss to, God, who was it?
Who?
Talking about UConn.
They got beat by Arizona.
Yeah.
Who beat us.
There you go. And they...
But the thing is that you lost to Arizona for UConn was on their home court.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if we played it, I was at the Arizona game. It was a road game for us. There were 90% Arizona fans saying, "Screw you, Gator. You're a little Gator. You don't know how to win." And then, U of A. So it was like momentum for them. And we almost won that game. We almost won that. If Boogie Flan stole the ball, it was 39 seconds to go, 88-85. He missed the wide open 3 that would have tied the game. Who knows what the hell happens after that? Now, I think what he would have done is steal the ball, lay it in, make it a 1-point game, put the hell of a lot of pressure on them to score. And then if they do get a 1-pointer, we still have a chance to tie it. So I just think we'll be okay. Got to beat UConn.
Yeah, 100%, man. So I think that's this Tuesday, right? Is that this Tuesday?
Yes, Tuesday night,
Okay.
9 p.m. your time. Jimmy V Classic. So we'll see what happens. I think we can beat guys. We can beat UConn. But the guard, you beat UConn with really good guard play. I love Boogie Flan, what he's doing. Clavjar, that's my man.
Yeah.
That's Clayton's little brother. That's what they call him, Clayton's little brother.
There you go.
Uh, I think that's Mark. If anyone sees his YouTube channel, it's pretty funny. He does reaction videos. But yeah, Clayton's little brother. Then you got Isaiah. Then you got Chinyalu, Condon down low, hand locked and down low, blocking shots, getting rebounds, putting it back. We can win this game. Xavier and Lee. I mean, dude, give us something. Make a three. Make it these laser beam threes. Get some arc on that three. Look at Clavjar. Look at what when Clavjar shoots that ball, it's like a rainbow with a pot of gold at the end. That's what you need. You don't need laser beams like Homelander. Okay, rainbow pot of gold at the end. Swish.
There you go. All right, well, EJ, I think this can be it for today's episode, man. We covered, I think, everything we need to. We really appreciate you guys watching this, man. Some good offensive coordinator hire, good defense coordinator hire. Playoff is officially set now. It's going to start up in the next couple of weeks, EJ. Anything else you want to tell everyone before we get out of here?
Man, we'll do some more basketball like before the SEC starts. We'll do some more. Oh, I see Rob. If you count warm-ups, you'll be drunk with alcohol. Yes, yes, yeah. You'll be in the ER. Um, we should have beat Arizona. Why didn't we go? That's a good point. We just haven't had enough time, Rob, to instill zone with this new team. And Golden is not really a zone type player or coach. Now he did show a little zone against Duke, which I think was very effective. We've since the Arizona game, he put some zone in there. The 3-point shooter that he made the shot at the Evans, I think is the Duke player that made the game winning three. He was 0 for 7. So Golden made the call to say, hey, let's go zone. That'll help us with the fouls because you breathe on someone, you breathe on Boozer, it's a foul. Which I can we that was crazy. Like Boozer gets the ball, lowers his shoulder, goes into our player who's just standing there, makes the shot, and one on foul on Florida. And I'm like, we just got mugged under the basket. The guy freaking jumped on our back trying to get the layup, and it's no call. But whatever. And by the way, goaltending. You know what I was waiting for, Logan? I was waiting for at the end of that game when Boogie Flan dribbled the ball off his leg and it went out of bounds and Duke got the ball. I was waiting for them to do a review and say, "Oh, go. We're gonna award Florida 2 points on a missed goaltending from the first half. So Florida now has, what 69 points to 68 for Duke, and they got 1.4 seconds to try to win the game. I was waiting for that crap to happen, but of course they didn't do it because you're playing at Duke, and you don't get the calls. But anyway, hopefully we get that going. Yeah, and Aberdeen. If we would have had Aberdeen instead of Xavier and Lee,
God.
I mean, what coulda, woulda, shoulda.
God.
But I still have some faith in Lee. I mean, let's see what he can. If he just gets to a point where he's just making some shots, 1 out of 3, just make 1 out of 3. We could be a very nasty team. Because if he's shooting 33%, we wouldn't have lost. We would be undefeated. So, let's see what happens. We got that game on Tuesday. Then we'll come back and review the schedule next week. Maybe we'll do our way too early predictions. And then maybe we'll also go to the Cure Bowl. USF.
Yeah. Let's go.
Your first team.
Have the bowl games been announced yet?
No, they're announcing them like onesie twosies. I think you'll get a lot announced today, actually, just
Sweet.
because the playoff is set, and then maybe we can do like we'll do a bowl challenge and a playoff bracket challenge.
Okay.
So we'll let everybody, get in on the fun.
Bet that. Yeah, I'm looking right now. I'm excited for the for that, dude. I'm definitely down for the Cure Bowl, Baby Pop-Tart Bowl too. I popped out of that one, dude. Love going to Camping World Stadium. But yeah, keep an eye out for that, man. Like I said, this Thursday might hop on, do an instant reaction to the schedule. We'll see what our schedules are looking like for that. Like EJ said, be ready for next week, man. Going to be an absolute great time. We appreciate you guys, man. As always, give this video a like, comment down below your thoughts on it. Just say what's up. You know what I mean? Just help us out a little bit. Subscribe, hit that little bell notification so you're notified every single time we post, because I post little snippets from the live throughout the week, so be ready for that. We appreciate you guys, though, man. Go Gators.
Play fake on first down. Lagway launching downfield, has a man. Touchdown!
Blitz coming off the edge. Dart under pressure. Down he goes.
I'm ready to go play. Let's play our best football.
Play fake on first down. Lagway launching downfield, has a man. Touchdown!
Blitz coming off the edge. Dart under pressure. Down he goes.
I'm ready to go play. Let's play our best football.
Play fake on first down. Lagway launching downfield, has a man. Touchdown!
Blitz coming off the edge. Dart under pressure. Down he goes.
I'm ready to go play. Let's play our best football.
Play fake on first down. Lagway launching downfield, has a man. Touchdown!
Blitz coming off the edge. Dart under pressure. Down he goes.
I'm ready to go play. Let's play our best football.
Play fake on first down. Lagway launching downfield, has a man. Touchdown!
Blitz coming off the edge. Dart under pressure. Down he goes.
I'm ready to go play. Let's play our best football.
Play fake on first down. Lagway launching downfield, has a man. Touchdown!
Blitz coming off the edge. Dart